Sometimes the quietest moments can be the most dangerous. Jason thought he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But when a peaceful morning turns into a violent confrontation, everything changes. With an entitled group of teenagers threatening his life and no one in sight to help, Jason faces a choice: fight or run. But what if justice came from the most unexpected place? What if the person who saved you wasn't who you thought they'd be? This is a story about survival, trust, and the surprising people who step in when you need them most. You won't want to miss what happens next. On most mornings, this street is a haven. It's the kind of place where the world seems to slow down, where everything feels in its right place. The sun rises slowly, spreading its warm light across rows of houses that have stood for decades. The air is fresh, and the only sounds are the soft chirping of birds and the occasional rustle of leaves in the breeze. It's the kind of morning that makes you think everything will be all right. But not all days are what they seem. Meet Jason Miller, a man who has seen the worst of what life can offer. A war veteran, now in his 60s, Jason has learned the hard way that peace is often fleeting. His hair is graying at the temples, his face lined with time and experience. He no longer wears the uniform that once marked him as a soldier, but the memories, the scars, are still very much a part of him. Some of them are visible, the result of battles fought on foreign soil. Others, deeper and hidden, are scars no one can see. This morning, like many others, Jason starts his day with a simple routine. He grabs his keys, steps out of his house, and heads to his car. The world outside is still, almost perfect, and in these moments, there's a quiet comfort. A sense of peace that, for a while at least, feels like it might last forever. But the world has a way of surprising you, often when you least expect it. As Jason walks to his car, there's no sign of what's to come. His car, an old sedan with a few dents and scratches, stands patiently in his driveway. It's not flashy, not new, but it's reliable, just like Jason. There's a sticker on the rear window, a tribute to his time in service, a faded American flag and the words, "Proud Veteran." It's a small token of the life he lived and the sacrifices he made, a symbol of who he is. Jason slides into the driver's seat and starts the engine. The hum of the car's engine fills the silence, and for a moment, the weight of the world lifts. He pulls out of the driveway, the sun now fully above the horizon, casting a golden glow over everything. The streets are still quiet, the neighborhood still sleepy. It's the calm before the storm, a calm Jason is entirely unaware of. The road ahead stretches out in front of him, a ribbon of asphalt that leads to nowhere special. Jason's drive is uneventful, almost meditative. He's not in a hurry. No rush, no destination other than the simple errands he needs to run. The kind of errands that should be forgettable. The kind that, in a peaceful world, would remain just that, ordinary and mundane. But, as with all things in life, the calm is short-lived. Up ahead, Jason notices something, or rather, someone. A flash of movement. A car speeding toward him. It's a bright, expensive-looking vehicle, one that clearly doesn't belong in this quiet suburban neighborhood. The sound of its engine roars as it zooms past Jason's car, cutting through the silence like a knife through paper. The car's tires screech as it weaves in and out of traffic, barely missing another vehicle. Jason's eyes narrow as he watches the reckless display, a frown creasing his face. He's seen this kind of thing before. The impatience, the entitlement. It's a new generation, one that doesn't seem to understand the value of patience or the consequences of reckless behavior. But he doesn't have time to think much about it. He's not one to dwell on the actions of strangers. Instead, he focuses on his drive, the rhythm of the road, the simple act of putting one foot in front of the other. What Jason doesn't know, what he couldn't possibly know, is that the car that just sped past him would become the catalyst for a series of events that would turn his quiet world upside down. The car up ahead, that shiny vehicle, doesn't stop. Instead, it screeches to a halt in front of a convenience store, blocking the entrance. The engine revs and the doors fly open. A group of young people pour out, loud, obnoxious, and full of an energy that seems to push against the very fabric of the calm morning. Jason doesn't notice them yet, still focused on the road, still lost in his thoughts. But soon, his peaceful drive will collide with their chaos. Soon, he'll be drawn into an encounter that will test his patience, his resolve, and his very sense of justice. And it all begins with that car, that group of entitled, reckless youths, the very same youths who, just moments ago, had no idea they were about to make a mistake that would change everything. For Jason, the quiet morning is about to be shattered. His world, which had seemed so peaceful just moments ago, is about to collide with a storm of disrespect, aggression, and anger. And how Jason reacts to this moment will determine if he's able to keep his cool, or if the scars of his past will resurface in a way that no one could have predicted. Because in this world, peace is never permanent, and sometimes the storm finds you when you least expect it. For Jason, the sense of calm he had cherished just moments ago begins to slip away. What started as an ordinary trip for a few groceries, a quiet drive through his neighborhood, quickly turns into something far more unsettling. As he parks his car and steps out into the soft morning air, a faint unease stirs in his chest. He doesn't know why yet, but something feels off. It's subtle, like a shift in the air, a change in the rhythm of the world around him. And that's when he sees them. The group. A loud, boisterous group of young people standing by their car in front of the convenience store, laughing at something, their voices echoing through the quiet street like an unwelcome intrusion. Jason doesn't know them, doesn't want to know them, but as he walks toward the store, the tension in the air thickens. Their laughter doesn't sit right. It's sharp, mocking, like they're poking fun at something or someone. And as Jason gets closer, he realizes they're looking in his direction. One of the young men, Matt, the loudest of the group, catches Jason's eye. He's tall, cocky, wearing an oversized hoodie and a smug grin that seems permanently affixed to his face. There's something about the way he stands, something about the way his friends are looking at Jason that sends a ripple of discomfort down his spine. Jason keeps his head down, trying to ignore them. It's the easiest way. After all, he's been in situations far more dangerous than this. The best thing to do is to keep his distance, to go about his business as he always has, letting the young people have their fun. But that's not what happens. The moment Jason steps into the store, something shifts. The group moves in, closing the space between them and his car. They seem to have taken notice of his license plate, the faded Proud Veteran sticker on the back window. It's a small detail, a symbol of Jason's past, but to them, it's an open invitation, a target. Matt, with his friends trailing behind him, walks up to Jason's car, his steps loud on the pavement. The others follow, moving in with a kind of casual aggression. It's not overt, not yet, but the smirks on their faces, the way they eye Jason's car like it's something to be mocked, it's clear that this isn't just curiosity, it's something else. And then, without warning, the first strike comes. Matt slaps the hood of Jason's car with the palm of his hand, hard enough to make the metal dent slightly. Jason, who's still inside the store, doesn't hear it, but he feels it in the air. The shift. The presence of the group becomes palpable, like a shadow stretching across his peaceful morning. Jason's heart begins to race. His instincts, honed through years of service, tell him something isn't right. But he's still hesitant. He doesn't want to overreact, doesn't want to make a scene. The group laughs, a harsh, grating sound. One of the girls in the group, a petite woman with bright red hair, steps forward and, with a sneer, flicks a coin off the hood of Jason's car. The action is small, but the message is clear. They don't care, they don't respect him, or his service. To them, he's just an old man in their way. Matt, emboldened by their laughter and the thrill of getting under Jason's skin, kicks the tire of the car with unnecessary force. It's a direct hit, the sound of rubber against metal echoing in the morning air. His friends egg him on, urging him to keep going, to mess with the car more. Jason, now walking out of the store with a small bag of groceries in his hand, hears the commotion. His heart sinks as he sees the group around his car. He sees Matt laughing with his friends, his foot still raised after kicking the tire, a mischievous glint in his eyes. It's as if they think they've won already, that the simple act of disrespect is enough to break him, to make him feel small. For a moment, Jason hesitates. His legs feel heavy as he steps closer to the group. It's not because he's afraid, far from it. He knows how to stand his ground. But there's a strange feeling of disbelief that grips him. He fought in wars, faced real danger. He's seen people lose everything in an instant. But this senseless aggression from a group of entitled strangers, it's something different. It's an insult not just to him, but to the values he fought for, the values he believed in. Matt spots him first, and without skipping a beat, the young man turns, his grin widening. It's a smile that's far from friendly. There's no recognition, no respect, just pure, unfiltered disdain. Jason takes a step forward, his voice steady despite the growing anger in his chest. Jason told, "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" The words seemed to hit the group like a splash of cold water, but only for a second. Matt, his face twisting into something between a sneer and a smirk, steps toward Jason, pushing him back with surprising force. The shove is hard enough that Jason stumbles, his bag of groceries falling to the ground. The moment hangs in the air. Jason's body tightens, a wave of adrenaline rushing through him. This is it, the tipping point. But he doesn't move, doesn't lash out, not yet. Matt told, "What's the matter, old man? You gonna cry? Is this your bravery showing?" The group laughs again, louder this time as if daring him to respond. Jason stands there for a moment longer, taking in the scene before him. And in that moment, something in him shifts. The peace he had just moments ago is gone. The quiet, idyllic morning now feels like a distant memory. He knows he can't walk away from this, not without compromising everything he's fought for. Jason's fists tighten, but this time, he's not the only one who's about to act. The winds of change are already starting to blow. In the span of a few moments, the situation spirals out of control. What started as a simple act of disrespect, a slap to the car's hood, a mocking laugh, has now turned into something far more dangerous. And the worst part? Jason knows this isn't just about the car anymore. It's about something much deeper, a level of animosity that runs far beyond the surface. Matt, emboldened by his earlier jab, steps even closer to Jason, his body language brimming with arrogance. The others fall in behind him, their faces a mix of curiosity and malice. They're no longer just playing around. The power dynamic has shifted in their minds. Now they're the ones in control. Jason, the older man, the veteran, is the target, and they're going to push him as far as they can. Jason stands firm, his chest rising and falling with controlled breaths. He can feel the tension in the air, thick like a storm cloud just before it bursts. The urge to stand his ground, to not let these kids walk all over him, is overwhelming. But there's a voice in the back of his mind, a voice he's heard all his life, telling him not to react, to take the higher road. But then Matt speaks again, and this time it's different. It's personal. Matt, mocking, is this really the best the great America could produce? Some old man who's lived through wars but can't even defend his own car from a bunch of teenagers? Pathetic. The words hit Jason like a slap to the face. It's not the first time someone has disrespected him, but hearing it from this kid, from someone who has no idea what he's been through, twists something inside him. Something tightens in his chest, his fists clenching involuntarily. He feels the weight of his years, the weight of battles fought and sacrifices made, crashing down on him. And he doesn't know how much longer he can keep it in. But before he can respond, before he can even gather his thoughts, the situation explodes. One of the other teens, a tall girl with bleach blonde hair, walks up to the side of Jason's car, pulling out a bottle of soda. Without warning, she splashes the entire bottle across the windshield, drenching it in sticky liquid. The bottle cracks against the glass with a sharp sound. The noise is a jolt to Jason's senses, a loud, unforgiving sound that makes everything else seem to fade away. The liquid drips down the windshield like a stream of poison, a final insult to his dignity. It's not just the car that's under attack anymore. It's Jason himself. And in that moment, a part of him snaps. He's pushed past his limit. Jason steps forward, his body tense, ready to confront the group. His eyes lock onto Matt, whose grin has grown wider, more vicious. The group of teenagers start circling around him, their laughter now a cruel chorus. Jason can feel the heat in his chest rising, the anger bubbling up. But it's not just anger anymore. It's a deep, gnawing fury that only comes from a lifetime of being overlooked, dismissed, and disrespected. Matt takes another step forward, his face twisted with disdain. He's pushing all the right buttons now, knowing exactly how to provoke Jason, knowing exactly how to get under his skin. Matt, shouting, "Come on, old man, show us what you're really made of. I bet you can't even take a punch, huh?" The words cut deep, sharper than anything Matt has said before. Jason's vision narrows, the noise around him drowning out as he locks eyes with the young man in front of him. For a moment, there's nothing but the two of them, man and boy, generation against generation, past against future. And then it happens. Without warning, Matt shoves Jason again, harder this time. The force knocks Jason off balance, sending him stumbling backward. His foot catches on the edge of the curb, and he falls, crashing to the ground with a sickening thud. The air is knocked out of him, his breath coming in short gasps. He's not as young as he used to be. The fall hurts more than it should. The group erupts into laughter, their voices cruel, mocking. They don't care. They don't see the man who fought for this country, the man who sacrificed so much. To them, he's just an old man, a target, an object for their amusement. But Jason, on the ground, sees something more. He sees the faces of his comrades in arms, men and women who would never back down in the face of danger. He remembers the battles, the struggles, the moments when he had nothing but his grit, his courage, and his will to survive. He remembers the feeling of knowing that his life wasn't just his own, that it was part of something much larger. And in that moment, Jason's resolve hardens. It's in that instant, lying on the cold pavement, that Jason understands something. His entire life has been about standing strong, about fighting for what's right, even when it feels impossible. And right now, in front of him, the real battle begins. He's not just fighting for his car or for respect. He's fighting for the very idea of justice, of what it means to stand up when it feels like the world is pushing you down. But just as Jason starts to rise, the unexpected happens. From the corner of his eye, he sees something, or rather, someone, moving toward the chaos. A figure, tall and imposing, stepping out from the shadows behind the convenience store. The figure doesn't hesitate, doesn't falter. They move with purpose, eyes locked on the group. And in that moment, Jason feels a flicker of hope. Could help be arriving? Or is this just the beginning of something far worse? The situation has reached its breaking point. Jason, his body aching from the fall, stands shakily, fighting to push through the pain. The moment he rises, the smirk on Matt's face twists into something darker, more calculating. The group's laughter begins to die down, replaced by the hum of anticipation. They can feel it, the shift, the quiet before the storm. Jason, his fists clenched and eyes hard, takes a deep breath, trying to regain control of his emotions. He wants to fight back. He wants to show them that he isn't some weak old man. But something inside him holds him back, a sense of caution, of restraint. He knows that responding with violence might not only escalate things further, but could also cost him dearly. But as he stands there, on the edge of something dangerous, the weight of his past, of all the things he's been through, starts to surface once more. Then Matt steps forward. Matt told, "You really think you can walk away from this, huh? You think you can just get up, dust yourself off, and leave? Like you're some hero, like you deserve respect? Not in my world. You're nothing, old man." Jason meets Matt's eyes, the anger in his chest rising like a wave. He wants to say something, to shout, to tell this kid that he's wrong, that he deserves more than this. But there's a gnawing feeling in his gut that tells him to stay silent, to wait. Something is coming, something worse than words. He feels it. He sees it in Matt's eyes. Matt takes another step closer, closing the distance between them. The air grows thick with tension, like a storm cloud just waiting to burst. His friends watch, some with excitement in their eyes, others with uncertainty. But Matt? Matt is different. There's no hesitation in his movements, no sign of doubt. It's clear that he's decided where this is going. And for Jason, that's when the reality of the situation hits home. He's not just facing a few reckless kids anymore. He's facing someone who sees him as an obstacle, someone who wants to make an example of him, to prove something to his friends, to himself. And in this twisted little game, Jason is nothing more than a pawn. Matt stops just inches from Jason, looking down at him with a cold, calculating stare. The others fall silent, sensing the danger in the air. Matt told, "Here's the deal, old man. You've got two choices. You can walk away, leave your car, leave your dignity, and forget this ever happened. Or you can watch as I wreck everything you've worked for. I'll smash that car. I'll ruin everything. I'll show you what happens when you don't know your place." Jason stands frozen, his heart pounding in his chest. The threat hangs heavy in the air, the ultimatum delivered with a terrifying calmness. Matt's words feel like ice running through his veins, and for the briefest moment, Jason feels helpless. He's fought wars. He's faced real danger. But this is different. This is personal. This is someone who doesn't just want to hurt him physically, but to break him, to make him feel powerless. For a split second, Jason considers his options. The car, the groceries, the last shred of dignity he has left, all of it is hanging by a thread. He could just walk away. He could leave this place, go back home, and pretend like none of this ever happened. After all, it's just a car, right? He's survived far worse than this, but the thought doesn't sit right. It churns in his stomach, like something he can't swallow. Because walking away now, letting Matt get away with it, would mean giving up. It would mean letting these kids win. It would mean letting disrespect triumph over everything he's fought for. But as Jason opens his mouth to speak, to tell Matt he's not going anywhere, something catches his eye. That figure, the one he'd seen moving toward the chaos earlier, is closer now. The figure steps out from the shadows, emerging into the parking lot with an almost unnatural sense of calm. It's a man, a tall, broad-shouldered figure dressed in dark clothes. His movements are deliberate, measured, and there's something about him that commands attention. He doesn't rush, doesn't shout. He simply walks toward the group, his eyes locked on Matt. The other teenagers begin to notice him now, shifting uneasily, the energy in the air suddenly changing. Jason's mind races. Who is this person? Why is he here? And then Matt notices him too. Matt told, "Who the hell are you? Another old man trying to be the hero?" The figure doesn't answer. He doesn't have to. He simply stops a few paces away, his presence overwhelming the group. The tension is now unbearable. The atmosphere is charged, crackling with an energy that is about to explode. Jason, his heart still pounding, feels a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, help has arrived. But at what cost? And what will happen next? For a brief moment, everything stands still. Matt, the cocky young man who thinks he has everything under control, doesn't notice it at first. But then the air shifts, the weight of someone else's presence bearing down on the group. There's a stillness that seems to settle in the parking lot, a heavy quiet that fills the space between Jason and Matt. The mysterious man, who had been a shadow until now, takes another deliberate step forward. His posture is straight, his movements deliberate. There is no rush in his approach, no hurried attempt to intervene. And in that, there's an unmistakable confidence, a quiet strength that causes even the boldest of the teens to take a step back. Jason, still processing the threat that Matt has just delivered, feels the shift as well. He doesn't know who this man is or what he wants, but something in his bones tells him that help, unexpected, unasked for help, might have just arrived. It's not the way Jason imagined it, but in this moment, it's all he has. Matt finally looks up, his expression one of confusion. His eyes narrow as he takes in the figure. A tall man, probably in his late 50s or early 60s, with a hard, weathered face and eyes that seem to see straight through him. Matt told, "Is this some kind of joke? Who the hell is this?" And then, without a single word, the man stops just in front of Matt, his gaze locking with the young man's. Matt's face tightens, his bravado faltering for the first time. For all the trash talk, for all the cocky posturing, Matt seems to recognize something in this stranger, something that makes him second-guess his own actions. Jason told, Who? Who are you? Mysterious man told, Is this how you treat veterans? How you treat the men and women who fought for you? You have no idea what you're playing with. Matt told, Yeah? And what are you going to do about it, old man? Mysterious man told, Maybe you don't know who I am, but I know who you are. You're just a coward hiding behind your friends. And right now, you're making a big mistake. Matt told big talk from an old man who probably hasn't seen a fight in decades. You want to get involved, huh? You think you're tough enough to stop me? The man doesn't answer with words. Instead, in one smooth motion, he reaches into his jacket and pulls out something that glints in the sunlight. A badge, a worn and weathered piece of metal that gleams with an authority all its own. Jason's eyes widen, recognizing the insignia. The man is no ordinary bystander. Jason's mind races as the truth hits him like a ton of bricks. The badge is unmistakable. The mark of a former law enforcement officer, a sheriff, a deputy, maybe even something higher. And in that moment, Jason realizes that this mysterious figure is no stranger to the world of justice. Mysterious man told, Think carefully about your next move. The consequences of messing with someone who's seen it all can be severe. I suggest you leave now, before you regret it. For a moment, there is complete silence. The entire parking lot seems to hold its breath, waiting for what will come next. Jason, watching the scene unfold before him, feels a flicker of something. Relief? Hope? Or is it the realization that the balance of power has shifted irrevocably? And in that moment, Matt speaks again, but this time his voice is quieter, more uncertain. The defiance that had once fueled him is now replaced with fear. The minutes that follow feel like an eternity. The man, still holding the badge in his hand, doesn't say a word, but his very presence has turned the entire situation upside down. The teens, once so brash, are now at a standstill, unsure whether to back down or continue their challenge. Their eyes flick from the badge to the man's face and back again, the gravity of the situation settling in. Matt, despite the fear creeping in, can't seem to resist trying to hold on to his bravado. His voice shakes, but his words are still filled with defiance. Matt told, So what? You're a cop? That doesn't mean anything around here. This is just some old man looking for trouble. You can't scare me. But there's a flicker in Matt's eyes now, a flash of doubt. His hands, once curled into fists, now hang by his sides, unsure of their next move. It's as if the edge he'd been riding on is slipping away. The group of teenagers who had been following his lead just moments ago are now glancing at each other with uncertain expressions. The man's eyes never leave Matt's, and though he hasn't said anything since revealing the badge, there's a palpable shift in the air, something that speaks louder than any words could. But just as it seems like the standoff might fizzle out, something unexpected happens. The woman's entrance is so abrupt, so unexpected, that for a moment the entire parking lot seems to hold its breath. Jason recognizes her almost instantly. She's not a stranger. She's someone he's seen around before, someone who's always kept to herself. She's part of the local community, someone who has always kept a low profile, never drawing attention. And yet, here she is, walking straight into the middle of this storm with an air of quiet authority. Jason's heart races as he watches her approach the group. There's no hesitation in her step, no fear. She walks toward Matt and the others, her eyes cold and calculating. She doesn't even acknowledge the mysterious man with the badge. Her focus is entirely on the group of teens, her attention unwavering. Young woman told, You all need to leave. Now. Matt told, "Who the hell do you think you are? You're not even part of this." This old man, he gestures toward the mysterious figure. "And now you? What, are we supposed to be scared of you too?" Young woman told, "You don't understand who you're messing with. You don't know who you're dealing with, and you don't want to find out." Matt told, "Yeah? Well, what are you going to do about it? We'll just call the cops or whatever." Young woman told, "Hey, yeah, we've got some trouble at the lot. Yeah, it's the usual crew. You might want to send someone down." As the woman makes the call, Matt's face shifts from defiance to uncertainty. The group of teenagers, sensing the tides changing, begins to look around nervously. It's clear that they didn't expect this, didn't anticipate someone else stepping in. And yet, here she is, standing firm, unflinching, as if she's seen this all before. Young woman told, "Yeah, we'll be here until you arrive. Make it fast." Jason can see it in their eyes now. The group of teenagers is losing its will. What had once been an aggressive mob now feels more like a pack of cornered animals, unsure of what to do next. Matt, for all his bravado, is the first to turn away, his shoulders slumped in defeat. One by one, the other teens follow suit, their heads down, their retreat swift. The woman hangs up the phone and turns her back to them without a second glance, walking toward Jason with an air of finality. The confrontation is over, and the power has shifted once again. Jason's mind is racing as he watches the group of teenagers scatter. He's stunned, not just by the way it all unfolded, but by the woman's calm, unshakable presence. She's not just a bystander. She's someone who stepped in when it mattered most, and in doing so, she's changed the course of this moment, and possibly of Jason's life. The woman's timely intervention has turned the tide. The situation that seemed to be spiraling out of control has now been defused, but Jason is left with more questions than answers. Who is she, and why did she step in when no one else would? As the parking lot slowly empties, Jason looks toward the woman, his heart still racing, his thoughts a swirl of gratitude and curiosity. He knows this isn't over yet, not by a long shot. But for now, at least, the storm has passed. For now, he's safe. The parking lot, once a battleground, is now eerily silent. The sirens that had been growing louder now fade into the distance, and Jason finds himself standing at the center of it all, still trying to catch his breath. The teens are gone, scattered, their threats now nothing more than echoes in the wind. The woman who had intervened walks slowly toward Jason, her steps measured and deliberate. The air around her is calm, but there's a sense of something much deeper lurking beneath the surface. She's already proven herself, not with words, but with actions. And now, as she approaches Jason, the weight of the moment seems to press down on him harder than before. She stops just a few feet away from him, and for the first time, their eyes meet. Jason told, "Thank you. I don't know what to say. You saved me back there." The woman doesn't smile. She doesn't offer any reassurance. She simply nods, as if the situation is already behind her, as though she's already moved on to whatever comes next. Jason watches her, still trying to make sense of everything. Young woman told, "Don't thank me yet. There's more to this than you realize." Jason's brow furrows. What does she mean? There's a sense of finality in her voice, but also something far more cryptic. She takes a step back, her gaze now shifting to the ground where Matt and his group had been moments before. It's as though she's analyzing something Jason can't see. Before Jason can respond, the man with the badge, The one who had stood so silently in the background steps forward. He looks at Jason, his expression unreadable. Mysterious man, told you should know. That wasn't the first time those kids have caused trouble around here. They're part of something bigger, something that's been growing for a while. Jason's heart skips a beat. Something bigger? What do you mean? They've been running small-time operations, causing trouble wherever they can. Their leader, Matt, the one who started all of this, he's been working with a much darker crowd. The police are aware, but they've been struggling to make a move. It's not just a group of teenagers, Jason. This goes deeper. Jason's mind races, the pieces clicking into place. What had started as a simple, hostile encounter had turned into something far more dangerous. He feels a knot form in his stomach. Jason told, "So, they've been involved in criminal activity?" The woman speaks again, her voice low and deliberate. "Young woman told more than that. And this time, we've got a chance to take them down. But we need help." Jason looks from the mysterious man to the woman, suddenly realizing that the stakes are higher than he ever imagined. What had started as an unfortunate incident had now escalated into a fight against something far more dangerous. A group of teenagers, led by Matt, is part of a network with a much larger reach. The danger isn't over. In fact, it's just beginning. As Jason absorbs the gravity of what's been revealed to him, the sound of approaching vehicles breaks the silence. Flashing lights and the unmistakable presence of law enforcement draw closer. The woman turns her back to Jason, giving a final glance at the parking lot, her eyes narrowing as if she's already anticipating the next move. The man with the badge steps back, allowing the authorities to take over, but his eyes never leave the group. For a moment, Jason feels a strange mix of relief and trepidation. The teens are gone, the immediate threat neutralized, but the unknown danger that lies beneath still looms large. Young woman told, "You're involved now. Whether you like it or not, you're part of something bigger than you realize. The question is, will you help or will you walk away?" Jason stands in the shadow of the mysterious woman, her words weighing on him. The sirens draw nearer. The crowd of onlookers begins to disperse, leaving him alone with these two strangers. These two people who had, for reasons he doesn't yet understand, stepped into his life at the most crucial moment. As the flashing lights fill the parking lot and the police officers begin to assess the situation, Jason stands still. His mind is racing, 1,000 thoughts flooding in. His fight for justice, for respect, for survival. It's not over yet. But as the night wears on, one thing becomes clear. Justice, in its purest form, has a way of finding those who least expect it. And in this strange twist of fate, Jason has found himself caught in the middle of a much larger battle. A battle where the stakes are higher, the risks greater, and the price of failure deadly. And just before the last of the police cars pulls away, Jason's phone buzzes. A message from an unknown number flashes on the screen. His heart skips a beat as he reads the message, the words sinking deep into his bones. Message: "We're watching. You've been marked." The screen goes dark, and Jason, left standing alone in the cold night air, realizes the real battle is only just beginning. What would you have done in Jason's shoes? Would you have stood your ground, or would you have run? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're hooked and want the next beautiful story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Click the bell icon.